G'day there folks, it's Connie here again, hope you're all having a fantastic day. Anyway, we're back with some more stories from Reddit, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty guys, we're on True Off My Chest. This one was written by user annualrazmataz94, and it's titled, I think my husband had an emotional affair, and I'll never know the truth. A woman, Beth, 30s female, moved into our estate a few weeks ago. A single mother was split custody with her ex. My husband, Carl, 32, is the chairperson of our HOA. A week or two after moving in, she calls my husband to ask his assistance in mounting her TV on the wall. He goes and helps. A few days later, her dishwasher was leaking. He goes and helps. This wasn't a problem for me, as he always helps everyone in the estate with little problems. As the weeks go on, she constantly needs help with things, always calling him for help. He goes. I now started getting annoyed as we haven't been in the best state because I've just had a baby. He's 4 months old, and we've had fights where I felt he wasn't helping me enough. I gave natural birth, and I'm still bleeding now and then, and my pelvis is still readjusting. Carl goes over to help Beth. Again, even our neighbours who we are very close with commented that it's odd, and offers that we do a lunch or something to welcome her and be friends, and she just moved here and doesn't really know anyone. Mind you, he hasn't done this for other people. Lunch happens and she calls me by the wrong name. I correct her and she's very giggly about it. She seems okay, a bit too over the top in terms of trying to be dominant in a conversation, but I think she's okay. She comes over again one more time for a barbecue a week or two later, and our close neighbours join. They think she's okay too. Then, that week while I'm at work, she comes over to say hi to my husband. He works from home. She's a teacher and schools are currently closed. She shows up wearing workout clothes. I got a text from my neighbour that also works from home saying Beth is there. I leave it as my husband is very social and we have cameras in the house. The next day, same thing. I mentioned that I'm glad she's made a friend. My husband agrees and that, quote, she's a cool chick. This happens about 4 more times. I then have to travel for work, 4 days away, and then she came over almost every single day, in workout clothes. One night I watched the cameras, and they were sitting by the table eating together, and I just lost it. My husband is an avid gamer, so he plays games every night, eating dinner by his PC. I always beg him to sit by me and eat with me. He does it maybe once or twice a week. I called my husband after Beth had left and told him that these visits while I'm not home are making me very uncomfortable. She's been over 3 times while I was home, but constantly there when it's just him. He apologized and said he will set boundaries. Great. This discussion was on the Thursday night. Friday morning, Beth rocks up again. I keep my cool because Carl said he'll talk to her. I get home the Friday night and we have the discussion again. We are both calm and all of that. Monday morning, our baby got sick. Carl takes him to the doctor and tells me that I need to be at home Tuesday and Wednesday because baby can't go to baby school because he's sick. Okay, cool. I come home early on Monday and look after the baby. Monday afternoon, Beth and her ex have a chat about an offer my hubby had made to the ex about him coming over and also being friends. The ex lives in our estate too. Do you think Beth texted my husband about this chat that happened on the Monday? Nope. I'm home Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday morning when I go to the office, Beth rocks up to chat about it. I lost it completely, because now it's been a week since I told Carl about my discomfort. We have a very serious discussion that night where I said that if I see her here again when I'm not here, I know he has no regard for my feelings. He was adamant about staying friends and asked for a compromise. I said that the compromise is that she does not come here when I am not here. The next morning he went to go talk to her about it, and apparently she was extremely apologetic, really wanting to be friends with me too, but she almost never came over when I was at home. She hasn't been here since then, 2 weeks now, and I've not had a text or whatever from her. He refused to show me the text with her, and I told him that it will always bug me if he doesn't show me. He said, so be it. I honestly think he was having an emotional affair, but I'll never know. My close neighbour told me about a conversation she had with him while I was at work a few weeks ago. Quote, he told me you were jealous, and I said, well, can you blame her? Then I said that he drops everything for these women, but doesn't do the same for you. And he said, that's what OP said, and then he went silent and changed the subject. I just needed to vent. Yeah, come on, OP. You're kidding yourself if you think that the husband's just being gullible here. He knows exactly what's going on, and he's okay with it, and that's a problem. Let's go to the comments. That's really painful. You're right to feel hurt. Even if not physical, the secrecy and attention he gave her crossed a boundary. She replies, he honestly made me feel like I was acting crazy because he only spoke to her after I went delulu, but thank you. He crossed many boundaries, and this is something that you need to go to couples counselling about. You have every right to be concerned and upset. I would tell him outright that he had an emotional affair. Not only did you see it, but the neighbours saw it, and his lack of being forthcoming and letting you see the text messages is indicative of that, and may show there's more than an emotional affair. I would go see an attorney to get your affairs in order, in effort to protect yourself and your child. Additionally, I would start sleeping separately for now too. Your neighbour is a hero, calling him out for doing things for her and not you. Hopefully, with someone else saying it, it actually registers in his truck head. Even if it's not emotional cheating, he has no regard for your feelings or helping you out, but happy to spend time with helping other women. Totally inappropriate. Yeah, 100%. Okay, now for an update, a bit over 5 weeks later. I managed to see the messages between them. Nothing of a sexual nature at all, not even flirty. There was a day where he texted her at 7:30, but only texted me at 9:45 after I'd sent him a text at 6:50, but that's as bad as it gets. He does not know that I've seen the text, so I've kept it quiet. We had a massive fight a few days after I made the original post, and I told him that I'm considering separation. I think that made him realize how serious this all is. It's pretty much a blur, but I've started going to therapy to deal with past traumas, and I am on antidepressants. Carl joined me in my last session, and I think he realizes what Beth's intentions were, as my male psychologist said that was a very unusual behavior from her, that, quote, she is a threat and has intentions. Carl and I are doing great now, but the reason why I'm posting this update is to show what Beth said to me after I decided to send her a message to bury the hatchet and move on. These are the texts. I say, Dear Beth, I wanted to share what's been on my mind. I was genuinely glad when we first met. It felt like I'd found someone new with a similar personality, and I thought there was potential for a real friendship. But as time has passed, I've felt hurt and disrespected by some of your choices. As someone who has also experienced betrayal, I would have hoped you'd understand how it came across when you frequently visited my husband while I wasn't home, yet never came when I was there. You had opportunities to build a friendship with me too. I've just had a baby, and during such a vulnerable time, it was especially difficult, seeing how often you reached out to Carl for help. Certain things, like your son calling him Dada, crossed lines that made me feel deeply uncomfortable. I tried to brush off a lot, but when you avoided coming by during the days I was home, only to return the moment I was back at work, it became impossible to ignore. I've spoken to Carl about his role in this, but as a woman, I also expected you to recognize when enough was enough. In my position, I believe you would have felt the same way. I've acknowledged everything now, and I'm moving forward. Whether it was you seeking attention or Carl enjoying it, I was willing to let things go, until both of your actions crossed into what I can only call unacceptable. Beth then sent a long voice note detailing how it wasn't her intention to hurt me, how she just naturally gravitates towards men, blah blah blah, and how me being an introvert, she just didn't want to be in my space, blah blah blah. Then sent, quote, I really like you guys and hope we can still be friends, but in saying that I will respect the boundaries and your wishes. I say, I appreciate your message. And Beth says, so is that a yes, we can be friends? I reply, if I'm honest, I still hold a lot of resentment, mainly because what he was freely giving you, attention and effort, I was begging for and not receiving. He tried his best to reach a compromise with me, telling me that you were over one day to ask advice because you'd met someone at a bar and wanted his opinion if the guy is interested or not. So I received a lot of mixed stories because I remember you saying that you're happy being single and not looking. I'm working through my emotions as I have a lot of unresolved trauma, and Carl's constant defending you left a very bad taste in my mouth. I don't know if it would be possible while we're still working on things, as this has caused a very big rift between us. I realized my mistake here when I gave her a good feeling because my husband defended her. The next part, she sent a bunch of texts. She said, "Carl defended me because he wanted you to realize him and I are good friends. And I don't want to be that person, but I do think you need to take a step back and also put yourself in our shoes. And you have a good husband who loves you and your son and wants to build a beautiful life with you guys, but you can't allow insecurities and misunderstandings to interfere with that. And work on things, that's fine, but don't push someone away that is wanting to be both your friends. Take time to think. I won't push it. And what I mean by this is to trust your husband. He is incredibly loyal to you, but he is a social, helpful person who gets along with women as his friends, and you need to accept that and trust that there's no ill intentions and he is genuinely just building friendships." She literally sent these in a space of 6 minutes. I reply, "Sure, I'll put myself in your shoes. Visiting a man only when his wife isn't home, constantly asking him for help with menial things around the house. I reached out to bury the hatchet, and then you spit out about I mustn't let my insecurities get in the way of someone's blatant disrespectful actions. Lol. And again, I don't care who he's friends with, whether it's a penis or a vagina. I'm not jealous by nature, as he's had dinner with exes, we've had threesomes, and we constantly comment on women that we see in public. But when something makes me uncomfortable, and I ask that the visits while I'm away stop, then I'm insecure? Thanks." She replies, "No, OP, that's not what I'm saying. I was trying to get you to understand that you have a loving and loyal husband and need to allow him to be friends with others. I did explain to you from my side why I did visit when you weren't there, and still did say I'll respect your boundaries moving forward, but would really like to maintain our friendship." I replied, "He can be friends with whoever the hell he wants to. I didn't tell him to cut you off. I only asked that you not visit when I'm not here. That's it. If he ended the friendship, that was him. Your blatant disrespect now honestly killed any chances. I said to you that it's not a good idea, now while we work on things, and you decided that your frickin' opinion mattered. If I made a mistake, I would never put the blame on the other woman, blaming her insecurities and saying she must let her husband be friends with other women. Shame on you." Beth replies, "I will give you time," kissing emoji. I say, "There's nothing to think about. You showed exactly who you are. Your narcissistic need for attention led you to overstep. Whatever place you imagined you had in Carl's life doesn't exist. He even sees how disrespectful and unacceptable your behaviour was. All of us have lost every ounce of respect for you. Enjoy the life you've made for yourself." I then blocked her. My husband was appalled by her behaviour and said that it's completely unacceptable. He did not text her to say that, but he did decide that cutting her off was the only option. He promised he would tell me if she texted him, and he hasn't said anything, so I'm trusting him. She's moved out of the estate and is no longer a part of our lives. I wish I could have given her a proper send-off, a glitter bomb or raw fish down her car vents, but I was too preoccupied with work and my baby. We're doing much better, and he sees how much his actions have hurt me. He's making more of an effort to make me feel better and happy and secure in our marriage. Thanks for reading. Wow, one comment says, "Why are you telling this potential homewrecker all of your personal information? Stop texting her. You're just giving her the upper hand here. Spilling the beans on every facet of your relationship with your husband. Stop. I don't think this is the end of it. He's telling you what you want to hear. She's telling you things about your husband as if you don't know him. He'll be loving it. This is going one way, and I hope you see it and take control before they manipulate you further." While it may have been cathartic, OP, you've given her so much information and ammo to use about your relationship, and the way she's acting, it seems your husband painted a very different picture of things to give her the impression that this was acceptable behaviour. I hope things work out between you and your husband, though. You told her way too much. When she asks if you can still be friends, say no. Don't blurt out more of your personal information. It gives her ammunition to argue. There is power in silence, just saying. You should have never texted her in the first place. Don't let people who are trying to get between you know that anything they've done has any power in your relationship. Yeah, hard to argue there. Okay, another update, 12 hours later. Hi all. I read through all the comments and did some thinking. I realised that I stuck my whole damn leg in my mouth, but I was so caught up in the heat of the moment. I guess it was a mix of me being on new medication, anger that my husband would not just tell her to F off, and me trying to set the picture of me not being anything close to jealous. I realise my mistake, and it is what it is. To those saying fake, I don't really care. That's why I posted on a venting sub. Even though things are going better now and we are in therapy, I still hold resentment because he outright refused to block her while she lived in the estate, saying, "What if there's an emergency? I can't block a tenant." And he refused to call her out on her behaviour because he doesn't want drama. I respect his decision, but it still hurts. We've been together for nearly 10 years, and I tell him that sometimes I feel he cares about other people's emotions more than mine. I pretty much am just keeping a low profile now, spending time with my son and trying to focus on the happiness that I do have. Whatever decisions he makes now going forward, I will address it when it happens. I was not in a good mental space when this whole thing happened, and I'm growing as a person and learning to control my emotions. Also to control what I just blurt out when I'm upset. Thank you for everyone's input. It's not healthy for me to keep dwelling on this. I'm moving on now. Whether my husband wants to move on with me or keep to his old ways, I'll cross that bridge when I get there, and I have a plan for if things do go sideways. Thank you all. Alrighty guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, fingers crossed for a good ending for OP here, but geez, there's a lot of problems still lingering after the fact here, isn't there? Anyway guys, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and we'll move on to the next story. Alrighty, going over to Petty Revenge for a quick one. This one was written by user Page with Annie, and it's titled, "I took an hour commute to get my coworker in trouble." I live about 20 minutes away from my workplace by car, and I drive every day. It's a lot more convenient for me than the hour-long public transport route that involves multiple transfers going into traffic, and my shifts aren't regular, changing between midnight and 8 AM and 4 PM. My senior coworker also drives to work, and his shifts are only 8 AM. We had our upcoming supplier visit that was about an hour's drive from our office. I was already annoyed with my senior because, despite all of it being his responsibility, he left me with all the tasks of coordinating the visit. All that was left was the question of who's driving. The month leading up to the visit, my senior kept making leading comments about how he didn't want to drive, or asking me if I'd gone to that area before. I didn't want to add chauffeur to my responsibilities, so I kept rebuffing him. One day, I overheard him talking to my manager about how we still didn't really have a plan, and he would, quote, figure something out. I waited like 3 days for that something to get to me, but all I got was more of the same. So a week before the visit, I started leaving my car at home and commuted every day. I woke up an hour early and all of that. I didn't mind the extra hour because I was fueled by spite, and it was an opportunity for me to catch up on my podcasts. 3 days of this, my manager noticed, and I fed him this fake story about how my brother was in town, and I lent him my car so he could see the sights with his girlfriend. I also drafted an email that I sent to my manager and my senior, asking the supplier for ways to get to them because, quote, our transport plans fell through. My manager was livid with my senior, asking him if this was his idea of figuring something out. He also berated him for being irresponsible and leaving much of the work to his junior, calling it shameful behaviour. My senior begrudgingly drove us to and from the supplier's place. Oh, and my brother went home the day of our visit, so I rolled up to the office the next morning in my car. Edit to add, I can't believe this post will be my legacy. Damn, thanks for the awards. Also to clarify, company car is available, but you need to have certifications on your legal ID, which will take up to a year to get. You have to get a professional license, which neither of us have, so it's been common practice to drive your own car and get the expenses reimbursed after. I feel the need to clarify also, I'm a woman who works in a male-dominated industry. That's not in America, where I'm the only one of two who has a different degree from the others. I hope that explains why me just being outright straight with them puts me at a severe disadvantage in the long run. And yeah, it's a toxic workplace, but I'm in a country and an industry where this is truly par for the course. Thanks for the unwanted advice though. Fueled by spite, I love it. Some final comments. You put in the extra effort, you got the perfect result. Applauding. The pettiness is strong in this one. Good work. At one of my previous companies, the senior-most person was always responsible for transportation, regardless of mode. That was because corporate was smart enough to know that if something bad happened and a junior was responsible, there were a lot more legal complications. And OP replies, this was the case for us too. My senior was really just a job-passing ass. Yeah, it's usually the way it goes, isn't it? Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you got a similar story you'd like to share. Either way, that's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.